Okay, Canadian geography for English as an additional language. We're going to learn about our provinces and our territories that are in Canada. So the first thing we are going to look at are what are the 10 provinces, and then we'll finish off with what are the 3 territories. So some vocabulary words that are worthwhile knowing for talking about Canadian geography. We have population, capital, largest, city, geography, attraction, major, north, south, east, and west. So let's take a look at Canada overall. Canada overall, we have a population of about 38 million people. Our capital city is the beautiful city of Ottawa, Ontario, and our largest city is going to be Toronto, which is also in Ontario. So where exactly is Canada when you compare it to the rest of the world? You can see on the map here where it is. Canada is in North America. And in terms of the area that the land of Canada takes up, like the physical space that Canada takes up, Canada is the second largest country in the world, behind Russia being the largest, and then the United States is actually the third largest. The United States is our neighbor to the south. We have 3 oceans that border Canada: the Pacific Ocean on the west, the Arctic Ocean to the north, and the Atlantic Ocean on the east coast. Like I mentioned earlier, we are a land border. We share a land border with the United States of America. It is the world's largest undefended land border, and it is along the 49th parallel. All right. This is some time. You can pause the video right now and you can go and take a look at what you need to answer for that part of the lesson. But we are going to move on to the Canadian provinces. What are the 10 provinces that make up Canada? We are going to start over on the west coast with British Columbia. With a population of about 5.5 million people, its capital city is Victoria, and its largest city is Vancouver. British Columbia joined Confederation, so it became a part of Canada in 1871 in order to receive some financial assistance for the construction of the Transcontinental Railway. And if that railway gets built, it would benefit with a much larger national market to sell its goods. So a little bit of Canadian history here as well. I'm not going to go through all of the major attractions that British Columbia has because there are a lot of attractions that they have, but you can see here on the list, there are a number of them. Moving over to the west of British Columbia, to the east of British Columbia, we have Alberta with just over 4.5 million people. The capital city of this beautiful province is Edmonton, and the largest city is Calgary. In 1905, Alberta joined Confederation in order to gain greater control over its natural resources, such as oil and gas, and they wanted to secure federal assistance for the construction of railways. As you can see, the railway is going to play a pretty important part in the creation of Canada. Alberta has many major attractions from the up north all the way to the south, and of course in the Rocky Mountains, but I'm not going to go through all of them there. You can see them there. If you're interested, you can pause and kind of Google some of these major attractions. To the east of Alberta, we have Saskatchewan with just over 1 million people. Its capital city, Regina, and its largest city is Saskatoon. Like Alberta, Saskatchewan joined Confederation in 1905 for similar reasons, to gain control over its natural resources. Now, Saskatchewan is known for farming, so they wanted to be able to control the wheat and other agricultural products that were coming out of the province there. And of course, they wanted to secure some federal assistance for the construction of the railway, as well as the railway is bringing newcomers into Western Canada. Again, you'll see this common theme, lots of attractions, major attractions in Saskatchewan. Moving west over to Manitoba with a population of just under 1.5 million people. The capital city and largest city in Manitoba is going to be Winnipeg. And Manitoba joined Confederation in the year 1870. And they joined because they wanted to control their own affairs that were happening within their province. And of course, again, like Alberta and Saskatchewan, they wanted to secure that federal assistance for the construction of the railway. You can see here they have a number of major attractions as well, ranging from the Canadian Museum for Human Rights all the way down to the Exchange District. Heading east, one of Canada's original provinces, joining in 1867, is the province of Ontario, with the largest population in all of Canada at 15.5 million people. The capital city of Ontario for the provincial government is Toronto, and it's also the largest city of Ontario and of Canada. Now, they joined, like I mentioned, in 1867 because they wanted to gain greater political and economic stability by having a strong federal government. So this is part of federalism, which we will be learning about in later lessons. Ontario is one of our largest provinces, which means they are going to have a lot of major attractions, and you can look up some of those there. To the west, again, I make this mistake. To the east of Ontario, we have Quebec, just under 9 million people, with the capital city being Quebec, the largest city being Montreal, and joining Confederation at the same time as Ontario in 1867. They joined into Confederation. They helped create Canada to protect their language, their culture, and as well as their civil law system once you get into the federal level. Being a very unique province, they have a lot of major attractions as well. You can see some of them are listed there. Next up, another original province in Confederation is the province of New Brunswick. Under 1 million people live there. It's about 800,000 people. Its capital city is Fredericton, and its largest city is Moncton. They joined Confederation with Ontario and Quebec in 1867 because they wanted to benefit from a larger national market, a trading market, and they wanted more political influence because they were a much smaller province. They have a lot of major attractions, having the Bay of Fundy there and the Gulf of the St. Lawrence nearby. There's going to be a lot of natural major attractions that you will see there. Moving on, another original province, Nova Scotia, with a population of almost 1 million people. Its capital city, along with its largest city, is going to be Halifax. And like New Brunswick, Quebec, and Ontario, Nova Scotia joined Confederation in 1867 because, like New Brunswick, they wanted to get a larger national market for their goods to be able to trade. And of course, they wanted to gain some political influence as well. It's going to be very important for them there. Being where Nova Scotia is located along the Gulf of the St. Lawrence and the Atlantic Ocean, the Bay of Fundy, there are going to be a lot of major attractions that you can see in Nova Scotia. Newfoundland and Labrador, to the north of Nova Scotia, has a population of about 500,000 people. Its capital city is also its largest city, St. John's. That's St. John's with an apostrophe S, because there's also in Canada a St. John, but that does not have an S on it. Newfoundland and Labrador, they joined Confederation in 1949, so they didn't join that long ago. It hasn't been that long since they joined, and they wanted to join because for the longest part they were trading partners with England, and then the Great Depression, brought Newfoundland and Labrador into Canada. Can't forget about Prince Edward Island, our smallest province of about 170,000 people. Its capital city is also its largest city, it's Charlottetown. They joined in 1873. So a little bit after Confederation, and they wanted, like the other provinces of New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, they wanted to benefit from a larger national market, and they also wanted to secure some federal assistance for the railway. And again, being an island in the Atlantic side of Canada, they are going to have a lot of major attractions. Okay, let's move on to some Canadian territories next. We've got 3 territories that we're going to end the lesson with here. So our first territory, we are going to start in Western Canada, just north of British Columbia. We've got the Yukon, whose capital city and largest city is the Whitehorse, and the entire territory only has about 44,000 people. They joined Confederation in 1898 because the Klondike Gold Rush was happening up in the Yukon, and they wanted to establish a local government to be able to support all of the influx of people coming in to benefit from the gold rush. They still have a connection to the gold rush today. Many of their major attractions include elements and sites from the gold rush. And of course, being so close to Alaska, there's going to be a lot of wilderness and nature to experience for major attractions. Next up, we have the Northwest Territories. They are to the west. Again, I made that mistake. They're to the east of the Yukon. They joined Confederation in 1870. Currently, they have a population of about 45,000 people. Yellowknife is its capital and largest city. And like I said, they joined in 1870 because they wanted to form a system of government that is going to support the fur trade, which you'll be learning about in later lessons. Being so far north in Canada, they have major attractions that are related and directly connected to nature, which is pretty cool. I'm not going to make this mistake, but I'm not going to say west. We're going to go to the east for our last territory. Our last territory is Nunavut, with a population of about 40,000 people. Capital city, as well as its largest city, is Iqaluit. And they joined Confederation. Well, they've always been a part of Canada, but they became their own territory in 1999 so that they could have greater political representation for the Inuit people that are living in Nunavut. Again, being Canada's north, their major attractions are definitely going to be connected with nature. It's a beautiful place to go and visit. Told you a lot about Canada. It's 10 provinces and 3 territories. Head on over to the questions and let's see if you can answer some of them. Now, of course, we went through some of the reasons why each of these provinces joined Confederation, and there were some very simple reasons there, but you need to know that there's going to be a lot more complex and intertwined reasons as to why each province and each territory decided to join Confederation when they did. This just gives you a little brief overview of what was happening.